If trend lines are real and every trader knows about them and uses them, how come 99% of traders still lose? So I'm going to repeat that. If trend lines are real and every trader knows about them, how come 99% of traders still lose? So I'm just going to delve deeper into that later in the video. I'm going to try and keep this video as short as possible, maybe less than 10 minutes. But yeah, so I'm Naz Nuke. I've been trading for a while. I'm just gonna try and show you guys the myth behind trend lines and things like that. And this is my first video, so forgive I don't have a lot of experience with content. So first of all, okay, let me take this away. Okay, I can minimize it. Okay, that's better. So first of all, what is a trend line? A trend line is something that looks like this, yeah? Something that looks like this. But what does it mean in trading? So a trend line is the illusion that the market creates a diagonal support that you can use to predict where price might go, whether it might go up, increase in value, or decrease in value. So it's that illusion that you can use it to predict future price points. I mean, so how do people use it? So the idea behind trend lines is the fact that you can, for example, take a look at this line, right? Trend lines are taking a line and putting it on top or bottom of a major significant resistance. For example, this is a significant resistance. So taking that line and connecting it to another significant resistance, in this case, for example, this. So you'd say, okay, this is the activation of a trend line in a sense. So the idea behind that is that, let's say we're here, we're at this candlestick, right? So in the logic of a trend line, you're saying that price will at some point come back to this trend line, and when that happens, price should bounce and go to the bottom. So the idea is that when price comes back to that trend line, you use that as an indication that, okay, now it's time for you to sell. Now it's time for you to sell and reap the profits as the price goes downwards. So let's see what happened. Let's say there you waited and the price went back to the trend line. What happened? Truth is, most traders, they'll use a sell stop to sell over there. So the price will come back to that level, they'll use a sell stop, and theoretically with trend lines, you're supposed to put your stop loss just above the previous significant bounce. For example, this was the first significant bounce, this was the second one. So in this case, if you're supposed to sell over there, you're supposed to place your stop loss according to the book over there. Alright, let me reduce the thickness over that line. Yeah, I think that's better. So that's where you're supposed to place your stop loss. So let's say you sold over there, right? Boom, you sold. Okay, still within that still within that range. Hasn't gone to your stop loss. But I want you to remember that this is a this is a daily time frame, right? Meaning one candle is one candle stands for 24 hours. So that's what you're trying to do. You want to sell over there, but if you're in a daily time frame, that stop loss is a lot of money. That is a whole lot of money. So most traders aren't gonna try and put that stop loss over there. They'll try and maybe say, they'll try to wing it and say, okay, let me just place my stop loss right over there, right? Then they sell over there. Guess what price does? It goes up, up, and then once, maybe on this candle, let me try and zoom in. Okay, by this blue candle, remember that stands for a day. At that point, they've already accepted that the market it's broken out of the trend line. They've already accepted that. They said, okay, it's broken out of the trend line. Maybe it's not time to sell. It's time to buy. So what they do is they close their trades, right? They close those buys and say, okay, now, they close those sells and they say, okay, now maybe it's time to buy. So what usually happens is trend lines, if price breaks out of a trend line, this is what theoretically is supposed to happen. Price breaks out and it's supposed to retest. Boom. It's supposed to come back. Where is my arrow? Yeah. Price is supposed to come back and bounce on that trend line like that. And that bounce is supposed to be an indication for what? For a future buy. Now let's see what actually happened. I'm going to try and explain the mindset of the different traders as these things happen. I think I should also add that crosshair as a favorite so that I don't have to minimize the screen all the time. Okay, let's make that bigger again. So what happened is price broke out. They thought, okay, they'll wait for a candle that's going to come back to the trend line. Then they'll place a buy. Then it goes up again. But what had happened was, granted there was a red candle, guess where it stopped? Stopped exactly at the trend line. I'm sure a lot of traders have already accepted that, okay, now it's time to buy. But guess what happened at the following candle? And if you zoom in closer, it shows that candle, it opened. As soon as it opened, it went up. That uptick right there, I'm sure it was an indication to a lot of trendline traders that, okay, that it's really gonna go up, and they don't want to miss out on the trade. It's an opportunity to make a lot of money, but so they don't want to miss out on that. Goes up a bit. I'm sure a lot of traders are going in the trade. Guess what happens after that? Boom. Have a whole day of red right there. Goes down, goes underneath it goes underneath the trend line, and then it closes over there. What do you think a lot of traders are going to do at that point? Trend line traders. I'm not talking about other traders who trade other things, but you have to understand most traders are trend line traders, so there's that. So it goes below the trend line. Guess what happens? They'll say, how do you think they'll justify what happened over here? It's a false breakout. They'll say, oh, maybe it was a false breakout and that was actually a retest to the trend line. Guess what they'll do over there? Candle is closed over there. They'll say, oh, now it's time to sell. Now it's really time to sell. Then they sell over there. Then the candle, what do you think that candle did right there? It opened, went up a bit, scared some of them. Some of them thought it was time to re-enter again. Then they sold. Then the market did this. Boom, boom, boom. Went back down, but before the day ended, came back up. See, the works always not all the time, but most of the time they indicate a decrease in momentum and an increase in momentum in the opposite direction. Yeah. So, but regardless, at the end of the day, it's still a red candle, so it might be an indication for a downward movement. Now the candle comes up, but something interesting happens with this candle. It goes up. Guess what it does to the trend line? It takes it and then comes back down a bit. Now this was a nail in the coffin for a whole lot of traders. because they saw that and they'd say, okay, now this is the indication that we've been looking for. Now it's really time to sell. Now it's really time to sell. So I'm sure there was a lot of traders that entered to sell over there. Following candle, same thing happens. The price goes up and it goes down, but it doesn't really pass the trend line. Then the following candle does sort of the same thing. It looks like it's going up, but it closes below the trend line. Closes below the trend line. A lot of traders say, okay, now it's really time to sell. It's showing an indication that the price doesn't want to go upwards. But guess what happens in the following three candle? Very huge momentum to the upside. And you have to realize, when you, especially if you're trading in the daily time frame, or even in the lower time frame, a similar thing happens. The candle goes up too fast for you to make a decision on whether to exit the trade or enter the trade, and it ends up hitting your stop loss. And when that happens, especially if you're trading on emotions and you were not ready, I'm sure this candle, what happened with this candle, it didn't go straight up, especially if it's a 24-hour candle. There was plenty of candles that were sort of retracing. Like, for example, it wasn't all blue candles going upwards. Some candles were blue, some were red, and all those red candles were sort of like an indication for those traders to save themselves and re-enter again, because they still believe that the market will go downwards. But this is not like an isolated case. It's the reality with a lot of trend lines. With the trend lines, what usually happens, the third bounce is not what you expect. It's always not what you expect, because according to the book, the first bounce is the first bounce, but the second bounce is what indicates to you that it's a trend line. And then the third bounce is where you're supposed to enter. But I'm going to try and paint the picture for you. For example, let's see this. Boom. We have the first bounce. Now we have the second bounce. Okay, now it's a trend line. I'm going to buy on my third bounce. Guess what happens? Boom. Market doesn't follow your rules. Let's find another one. Let's find okay, let me leave it there so that you can see. Let's say, okay, now you must remember that you're not seeing this when you're drawing the trend line. You're not seeing the future. You're trying to predict it. For example, here you draw a trend line like this, boom, maybe over here, and then you're saying, oh, you're gonna sell on the third bounce. First bounce, second bounce, guess what happened? Third bounce, boom. And the same story happens with what I explained previously. It just misses with a lot of traders. They don't know if it's a buy or a sell, because that's the only major trend line that they drew. Let's say some of them got clever and say, oh, maybe that is the second bounce. And they take their trend lines and they put it like that, boom. They're saying, okay, that is our third bounce. The price is going to come back to the trend line, bounce off that, and then go downwards. Guess what happens? Violation. You see, and it's like, as I'm showing you now, it's not an isolated case with trend lines. Same thing here. Let me just repurpose that line over there. Here we go. Let's take that, put it over there. I don't know why it's glitching now, but at least it's so fast enough. 16, did that to there. First bounce, second bounce, third bounce is supposed to be our buy. Guess what happened? And with this one, this is a especially painful one, because it bounced over there, and then you place your buy, then it went up. Now you're confident, you're sitting in profits. Guess what happens in the following candle? Huge red candle takes you out over there, because once you're in profit, most traders are going to do what? They're going to place their entries. They stop loss at the entries. Boom, takes you out, and then it goes up. That's the confusing part. When it goes up like that and leaves a huge wick, a lot of traders are going to say, "Oh, now this is an indication for us to go into the upside." Guess what happens in the following candle? Huge red candle. A huge red candle. There, boom. Some traders still haven't accepted that the trade is it's no longer buying. So they'll see that and they'll say, oh, they'll justify it and say it's still closed above the trend line, so I could still buy. Guess what happens? For for about 2 weeks, price continues to go downwards. And this is not isolated to only VIX 75. Happens all across the market. Currencies, indices, synthetic indices, same thing. So I think we've established that they don't work. You can even do this on yourself and just try and test it out on other markets for you. I was just using VIX 75 as an example. Now, how come most mentors, when they show you this, it works for them? It never works for you conveniently, but it works for them. One thing I want you to do is just check if those mentors, they actually show their losses, because when you're trading with a lot of money that you as the student give to them, you can, like, you have a lot of money to play around with, so sometimes it does work. Because if it didn't work, like, flat out, it would be very easy for trendline traders to just stop them, because obviously they'll see that they don't work, but they work maybe one out of 10 times, and that one scenario is the screenshots that you're going to see on Instagram, on your signals group and things like that. That's that's what usually happens. So I think the video is now longer than what I intended, but yeah, comment down below if there's if you have any questions. And I do have a free signals group. If you want to be added to that, hit me up on my Instagram DM and say you want to be added, and I'll add you there. I'll leave my Instagram handle below so that you can do that. And yeah, comment down below if you have any other questions, that I may answer them in future videos. Thank you for watching. See you next time.